Mr. Harris here, and welcome to a new video of Chapter 5. In this video, we're going to talk about energy conversion. Okay, so in the previous video, we already learned about what forms of energies are there. So let's see how we can convert one energy to the another. So first off, we've already learned about dry cells. These are actually batteries as well. So we know that in dry cells, there's a form of energy called chemical energy. And when we use a battery or when we use a cell, it will eventually convert into electrical energy. So the conversion of one energy to another, we call it energy conversion. So this particular term, please be familiar with it. So let's look at some other examples of energy conversions. Okay, these are actually quite simple, but let's have a look. Simple meaning these are commonly used in our daily life, something not large scale. So it's like a mini scale, a very small scale. For example, when we have a spring toy and we place our finger on top of it, it will of course go back and forth. So what we observe is the toy would jump up and down, and what we need to deal with is the energy conversion. So first off, we already know that there's potential energy stored in the spring, and after we place some energy or we place some force on it, the spring toy will move or jump up and down, and this is a form of kinetic energy. So the energy conversion over here is from potential energy to kinetic energy. So let's have a look at another example. You can actually try this by yourself. You can rub your hands for around 10 to 20 seconds, and afterwards you'll realize that your hands will start to feel warm. Also, when you rub your hands like I am right now, I'm not sure whether you can hear the sound, but of course when you rub your hands, there will also be a sound produced. So let's see the energy conversion right now. So originally, because we were rubbing our hands, there was kinetic energy, of course. And then when we're doing this process, what is changed? The energy is converted from kinetic energy to, first off, because our hands become warm, this is thermal energy. Okay, guys, I would prefer you to write down thermal energy instead of heat energy. Thermal energy, please remember this. You may ask me why, but I would say that I prefer thermal energy. But in details, we can maybe talk about it when you come back to class. So thermal energy, and the other is, of course, sound energy. All right. So based on these two examples, we can know that energy can indeed be converted from one form to another. Okay, let's move on. So let's look at some other energy conversion processes in our daily life. Say, for example, originally, as I told you, when back in the day, people would use wood as fuel, and also when we're cooking over here, there's chemical energy stored in fuels. We know that. And after, for example, undergoing a process of burning, light energy, as you can see over here, you can see there's light, and of course, thermal energy is produced. So when you're cooking in the kitchen, or when you're out hiking, or doing some other, hopefully you're not starting a fire when you're hiking, but when some people they are going into the woods, they have to stay overnight to stay warm. Or back in the day in history, a lot of people would use wood to keep themselves warm and to cook food. So another very common type of energy conversion process is what is called photosynthesis. So I'm sure I probably mentioned this in class before. Photosynthesis is basically when plants use light energy to make food or to produce food. Okay, so just to keep things simple, we'll talk more about photosynthesis when you guys go to Form 2. So green plants over here, they would absorb light energy, they'll get in light energy, and they'll convert it to chemical energy. Okay, so in this process over here, light energy is converted to chemical energy. Moreover, let's talk about electricity. So most appliances in our homes run on electrical energy, whether it's your TV, your aircon, your iron, many different things. They all run on electrical energy. But how exactly is electricity generated? So let's have a look. Let's use an example of solar cells. So solar cells, as we all know, solar energy, you probably heard of this. Solar energy, which is quite similar to light energy, but let's have a look. So over here, I have a torch and I have a solar cell over here, or a solar panel, and we're using it to generate electricity to the electric fan. So let's see over here what happens. What is the energy conversion over here? So originally we're using a torch to shine light. So of course, what type of energy is coming from the torch? Obviously, light energy. And then afterwards, this energy is absorbed by the solar cell, and eventually, what type of energy is generated? Yes, electrical energy. So just like this, electricity is generated. So let's also look at some other examples. So again, back in the day when I think maybe 200 years back, we were already having steam engines. So steam engines, for example, when you're using it in trains or for transport, for other means of transport. So there's actually alcohol in the fuel chamber, and when you burn this fuel, electricity could be generated. And of course, there are turbines inside, which will generate electricity. But let's have a look in details using a coal-fueled power station. A coal is a form of, you can say it's a form of fuel. It's quite common nowadays. We're also using coal. So first off over here, just imagine you have coal over here. It is being burnt to boil the water that is coming in. So the liquid water over here, it boils and changes to steam. Okay, so originally it was a liquid, and of course after boiling it becomes into gas over here. So the steam would eventually go through this chamber and go on to the top over here, and you'll get steam. And now let's focus on what happens over here. So over here, the steam that comes in, it will turn the turbine. Okay, so it turns the turbine. And this turbine, let's focus on over here now. This turbine will eventually drive the generator to generate electricity. Okay, so in other words, originally, we're using the coal over here. We're burning the coal, which will form steam. The steam will turn the turbines over here. Okay, and finally over here, the turbines will drive the generator to generate electricity. So it is a whole process over here, and eventually when electricity generated, what happens is, of course, we will be using electricity. So through the power stations or some other ways, electricity is supplied to the consumers or to residents. Now let's focus back over here. What happens is, after the steam is used, it would go back down to a condenser. So you guys already learned about condensation. So in the condenser, the steam, which was originally a gas, it will be converted back to liquid water. Okay, and the water would go back into the process. All right, so when the water goes back into the process over here, again, using coal to burn, the liquid water will again turn into steam. So it's a whole process. It goes back and forth, back and forth. All right. So for this part, I just wanted to introduce about how energy is converted from one form to another, and how electricity is generated, especially back in the day when we used to use steam engines. Okay. So I'll see you guys in the next video. That's it for now. Bye.